Okay, so picture this. You're at the movies, right? Lights are down, popcorn's ready, and the movie's just getting good.
Uh-huh.
And then bam, the couple next to you decides it's makeout time.
Oh, no.
Suddenly, the on-screen drama's got nothing on the PDA happening 2 seats away.
Yeah.
We've all been there, haven't we? But what is it about some PDA that makes us cringe, while other displays are kind of cute?
Well, it's interesting you say that. Public displays of affection, PDA, they aren't just about a quick kiss or holding hands.
Right.
It kind of gets into, like, deeper stuff. Cultural norms, personal boundaries, even the psychology of, like, why we even want that connection in the first place.
So it's not just me being a grumpy moviegoer?
Not at all.
There's real science behind this PDA awkwardness.
Absolutely. And before we jump into the why, maybe we should, like, define what we even mean by PDA.
Okay, yeah.
It's a much wider range than most people think.
All right, so PDA 101, what exactly are we talking about here?
Technically, PDA is any, like, display of affection, but it has to be happening in public.
Okay.
That can be something as simple as just holding hands, or as intense as, well, what you saw at the movie.
So is there a line, like, between a quick peck hello and, full-blown makeout?
Right.
Is it all relative?
Yeah, it is. And that's where things get really interesting. What might be totally fine in one culture,
Yeah.
could be, like, totally weird in another. Like, for example, in some cultures, even just a hug between friends if they're opposite genders.
Oh, wow.
That could be seen as inappropriate.
That's a good point. Got to be aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
But even beyond cultural differences,
Right.
what about the psychology of PDA? Why do people do it in the first place?
There are a bunch of reasons, and it's not always about, like, showing off,
Okay.
Research actually shows that PDA can release oxytocin. That's the feel-good hormone. It, like, strengthens your bonds
Oh, interesting.
and reduces stress. So a quick hug from your partner, it's like a little shot of happy chemicals,
Okay.
especially if you're in, like, a really hectic environment.
So it's not always about attention seeking.
Well, no.
It's actually good for you.
Sometimes, yeah. Think of it as like a nonverbal way of saying, I've got you.
Yeah.
We're in this together.
I could see that.
It can be really powerful in stressful situations because it gives you that sense of comfort and security.
Yeah, like imagine you're at the airport.
Exactly.
Flight's delayed, it's crowded, and your partner just grabs your hand.
Perfect example.
Instant relief.
And then there's also the social side of it.
Right.
PDA can signal to other people that you're in a happy relationship, that you're committed.
So like it's a way of kind of bonding, but like within a group.
Yeah, it reinforces that connection, but in a bigger social setting.
Okay, so it's a public declaration of we're a team.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And this kind of public affirmation, it can have these positive ripple effects. Like, it might encourage other people to be more open about their own feelings.
Oh, wow.
Think about it. You see a happy couple showing their love, it might inspire you to do the same.
Okay.
Create a more affectionate environment.
So PDA can boost your mood, strengthen your bond, and even make the world a little bit nicer.
That's the idea.
I'm starting to see why people do it.
But, of course, it's not always, sunshine and roses.
Right.
There's another side to this.
Okay.
And that's what we're going to look at next.
Yeah.
Understanding why PDA can sometimes rub people the wrong way.
Gotcha.
It's just as important as seeing the good stuff.
All right, let's get into it. Why does PDA sometimes just feel off? What are the arguments against it? Okay, so we've talked about the good vibes, the oxytocin, all that.
Right.
But let's be real. Sometimes PDA just feels off.
Yeah.
Like that couple at the movies. Total mood killer.
Well, you hit on something there. Context.
Yeah.
Yeah. What might be super sweet in one place could be totally wrong somewhere else.
Right.
Like a big hug at a family reunion. Adorable. That same hug, like in the middle of the grocery store.
Blocking the aisle.
Yeah, not so much.
No one wants to get caught in a love fest traffic jam. But okay, besides annoying other people, is there like a deeper reason why some PDA makes us uncomfortable?
There is. And it kind of goes back to boundaries.
Okay.
PDA, sometimes it's like blurring the lines between what's public and what's private.
Yeah.
The people around, they start feeling like they're like accidentally intruding on a personal moment.
Like, hey, I didn't sign up for a front row seat to your relationship.
Exactly. And it's not always about how intense the affection is either.
Oh, really?
Even something small, like holding hands, it can feel intrusive if it makes other people think about, their own relationship or if they're single.
I get that. seeing a couple all over each other, if you're single, it might make you feel kind of lonely.
Exactly. And that ties into like social pressure too.
Mm.
Sometimes PDA isn't even about the affection. It's about like fitting in with what society expects or even competing with other couples.
So it's less about genuine connection and more about keeping up appearances.
Sometimes, yeah. And that kind of like performative affection,
Huh.
it can actually hurt the relationship in the long run.
Really?
Studies show that couples who are like super focused on showing affection in public, they might be ignoring the deeper stuff in private.
Whoa, so too much PDA could mean there are problems underneath.
It's a thing, yeah. It's all about finding a good balance,
Yeah.
expressing your affection for real, but also thinking about how it affects everyone else.
So context, boundaries. We talked about the social psychology of it all.
Right.
But let's get practical. How do we actually do PDA
Mm.
in a way that feels good, but also respects everyone around us?
Talk. Talk to your partner.
Okay.
Before things even get, lovey-dovey.
Right.
Figure out what each of you is comfortable with.
So have the PDA talk before things get too heated.
Exactly. And it's not a one-time thing either.
Oh.
Check in with each other because how you feel about it can change over time.
It's like a relationship checkup, but for PDA.
I like that. And besides talking to your partner,
Yeah.
pay attention to the people around you. Like if they look uncomfortable or you're getting side-eye,
Uh-huh.
that's your cue. Tone it down.
It's not about being the PDA police, right? It's just reading the room.
Exactly.
Okay, so talk to your partner, be aware of your surroundings, and notice how other people are reacting.
Got it. You got it. But navigating PDA, it's not just about rules.
Okay.
It's about empathy, you
Yeah.
know? Put yourself in other people's shoes.
That's a good point. It's easy to get caught up in your own world and forget other people are around.
Exactly. To really show this point, I think it'd be good to hear some personal takes on PDA.
Oh, yeah,
Because this is something everyone experiences differently.
for sure. Let's hear some real-life PDA stories. Good ones and maybe some not-so-good ones.
We've all got them.
Speaking of relatable, I remember this one time I was at an outdoor concert. So I had this concert, I'm totally into the music.
Uh-huh.
And then I feel this, like, pressure on my back.
Oh.
Turns out, the couple behind me, they decided my back was the perfect spot for their makeout session.
Oh, no.
It was like being in a romantic sandwich. And let me tell you, the view wasn't pretty.
Sounds a bit too close for comfort.
It was. And it made me think, sometimes couples just forget other people are around.
Right.
What about those couples who use PDA to, like, mark their territory?
Ah, the possessive PDA.
Yeah. It's like they're saying, back off, this one's mine.
That gets into, like, the whole relationship dynamic, how it plays out in public. A little affection, that's fine. It shows you're committed.
Right.
But if you go overboard, sometimes it's because of insecurity or a need for control.
So it's not really about love. It's more about sending a message.
It can be, yeah. And that kind of PDA, it doesn't create good vibes,
Definitely not.
It makes people uncomfortable, maybe even a little threatened.
The opposite of that oxytocin we talked about.
Exactly. Instead of bringing people together, it creates tension. But hey, not all PDA is bad, right?
True.
Sometimes it's just about different love languages. Some people are just more touchy-feely than others.
Yeah, what's too much for one person might be totally normal for another.
Exactly. That's why you got to talk to your partner. Figure out what works for both of you.
Right, and like you said earlier, those check-ins.
Yeah. And remember, how much PDA is okay can change depending on where you are, too.
Oh, right, the context thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's fine at home might not be cool in a more formal setting.
So context is key.
Yeah.
And a little empathy goes a long way.
Absolutely. Thinking about how other people might feel,
Yeah.
that can help you decide if your PDA is coming across as sweet or just plain awkward.
We can usually tell when a couple's really connected versus just putting on a show.
Exactly. And to balance out those, not so great PDA stories, I want to share one where public affection was actually really beautiful. One of the sources we looked at, it mentioned a study where researchers were watching couples just out in public.
Okay.
Even little things like a touch on the arm, a smile, it made a difference.
Really?
Both for the couples and the people around them.
Wow.
People who saw these little displays, they said they felt happier, more connected to their own loved ones.
So even a small gesture can have a ripple effect. That's amazing.
It is. It shows that love and connection, they're contagious. PDA, when it's done right, it can make our world a little better.
So it's not about never showing affection in public. It's about how you do it.
Exactly. Finding that sweet spot where you can express yourself, but also be respectful.
All right, so after all this PDA talk, what's the main thing our listeners should remember?
There's no one right answer, you know. It's complicated. What matters is talking to your partner, being aware of where you are, and thinking about how your actions affect other people.
Finding that balance, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, between showing your love and respecting the people around you.
And at its best, PDA is about celebrating that connection, right?
Exactly. It reminds us that love can bring us together.
Love it. This deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about. So to wrap things up, one final question for our listeners.
Okay.
After hearing all this, how do you feel about PDA? Where do you draw the line? What feels good to you?
It's a great question.
Because in the end, how we see and experience PDA, it's really personal.
Absolutely.
So go out there, be mindful, be respectful, and show your love in a way that feels true to you.
And remember, a little awareness and empathy go a long way.
Until next time, happy diving.